welcome back to my channel. I have something fun and interesting planned for you guys, but before we get into that, if you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing down below. I do tons of different content, unboxings, thrift hauls, I do chatty videos about stuff that is on my mind, I do a candle review video series, and I've done a bunch of other random content that I've planned for this summer, and it will be coming out slowly. So today's video is about camping. So I don't know if this will come off or if it hasn't in my other videos, but I actually like being outside a lot. I don't always get to be outside very often. I do have an allergy to the sun where I will break out in hives if I'm in direct sunlight for extreme amounts of time. Obviously, you know, since I am older, I have found a way to manage that and how to make sure that that doesn't happen as often, but it does still happen. So I do have lots of tips and tricks to like kind of maneuver that issue. So with that being said, I do love being outside. I love nature. I love doing things outside. So one of my favorite things to do is to go camping. Camping is something that I have been doing ever since I was a child. My parents always took me and my brothers camping, and when I was a young adult, I would go with my friends. And now, as I'm a little bit older, every year me and a group of friends go camping. It's been a yearly tradition for quite some time now. I think it's going on 7 years, maybe? I can't remember how many years we've gone in a row. We did not go last year, obviously, because of the pandemic, because depending on what's going on, there can be a large group of us going. Out of my circle of friends, I think the most that we've ever taken, I think one year we had 17 people, maybe? Somewhere between 15 and 17 people. And though that was a lot, that was probably one of the funnest ones that we've done. It was a lot. A lot going on. But basically I wanted to talk to you guys about that, what I love about camping, and then maybe even give you guys some tips about how I feel about camping and the easiest way to camp. Now when I say camping, it is very important that I stress to you, I do not mean RV camping at all. I mean like in a tent camping, and I don't mean comfortably necessarily. Depending on who you are as a person is going to depend on whether you find it comfortable or not. So essentially when I go camping, I like to rough it, which means I don't like electricity. I don't go to a campground that I consider parking lot camping. And what I mean by parking lot camping is I don't go to a campground that's really close to the city and has, you know, like a nice cement road with nice little cement driveways into the lot, which is basically just an open field, hardly any trees around. Usually you can see clear to the other side of the campground. Hold on. Luna is becoming quite a little terror. Let me set her down on the floor. So again, what I mean by parking lot camping is that it's very reminiscent of just like an open field that they've decided to call a campground. I do think that they do serve a good purpose. I think if you're new to camping and you want to try for the first time and you're kind of nervous about it, they're definitely a good place to go when you are just starting out. Usually campgrounds like that are more common for RVs just because, you know, there's no obstructions in their way to park their big campers. They have plenty of room to pull in and pull out. They don't have to worry about hitting a tree, a bush, you know, rocks, whatever. The type of campgrounds I like are definitely more heavily wooded, and usually, unfortunately for some people, depending on how pampered they are in life, it does not have running water unless it's a potable water source that you're sharing with the entire campground. Usually I like going to ones that have no electricity, and I like going to ones that are so far out that if you have cell reception, it is rare. The reason I like this type of camping is, to me, when I go camping, I want to be so far away from everything that I deal with on a daily basis that I won't even be able to think about it. So I like being someplace where there's no cell reception, because then I feel like I can actually truly like immerse myself in the experience without having my phone constantly in my hand. We will take pictures, but I've noticed a lot of times we don't take a lot of pictures just because none of us really have our phones on us unless we're listening to music, which even then is tricky to do unless the music is actually on your phone, because you're not going to get a signal most of the time. But that's the way all of us like it. In my group of friends, they've all been fine with that. We've been doing that for quite some time. There have been years where we've gone to kinds of campgrounds where we have had electrical hookup and showers and stuff, but I actually prefer the ones that just have vault toilet, no electric hookups, and no cell service. That is usually when I'm having the best time. And some of the benefits of camping like that is usually there's hardly any light pollution. So if you're somebody that's into looking up at the night sky and stars and stuff like that, you're going to get a really good view of a lot of really cool constellations depending on what time of the year it is. You can also see a lot of cool meteor showers. Where we are going this year, it's supposed to have such a clear sky that you should be able to see quite a bit. I do know that depending what time of year you go also, you can see part of the aurora borealis or the northern lights as they are called. So where I'm going, it's pretty much no light pollution, but then again, there's also no electricity, no showers. There is a water source there for the campsites to use, and there is also vault toilets, which is essentially just outhouses. I wanted to talk to you about what my favorite things about camping are, and a lot of it is just the disconnect. I feel like a lot of us go through life so wound up in everything that has to happen, whether it's work, social media, all the pressures of society that's going on. If you're camping, the only thing that you're thinking about is being 100% in the moment with what's going on right there and then. I feel like a lot of the things we take for granted are our friendships, and I've noticed when I go camping and stuff, because we're so disconnected from everything else, we can actually truly pay attention to one another and actually enjoy each other's company. Now, obviously, depending from person to person, some people like being constantly connected to a grid and having a phone in their hands, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Everybody's different. But for me personally, I like being away from all those stresses and pressures, and I like having just time to be out and alone in nature or with friends in nature and enjoying each other. Now, some people have a little bit of a tough time getting over the fact that, you know, they can't call someone, they can't connect to Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, whatever it may be. I've never had an issue with it. I know I am a millennial, so, you know, that could just be my generation, but I was raised on computers, so I've definitely had myself connected to the internet majority of my life, and I definitely like scrolling through TikTok and Instagram and all that just like anybody else does, but I feel like it's important, at least for your own mental state, to disconnect from that at least once for a good chunk of time to kind of just be yourself out in the world without worrying about what's going on the internet. The other thing is if you are someone who has been working their entire adult life, it is nice just having time away from work. When I mean away from work, I don't know about you guys, but even on my days off, work will call and text me, especially my employees asking me questions and wanting to know how to do something, how to get something, or just anything that could possibly happen. I will get phone calls all day, all the time, and it gets frustrating. So I know when I'm up north away from cell service, they can't get a hold of me and I don't have to worry about it, and it's a freeing feeling to be 100% disconnected. There are a lot of things that I think are perfect that are necessary to take with you. My camera died on me, so I don't know where that cut off at. Hopefully this will make cohesive sense. So anyways, but one of the things I like about camping is spending time with my friends out in nature, completely disconnected, as I was saying. So every year we have kind of some general rules that we try not to go the same place twice. We have one, and that was in the very beginning of my group camping trips that I take with my friends, because we were so happy with how the first year went. I think we were trying to duplicate it with a larger group, and of course it went completely different. After that, we had kind of decided no matter what, we're going to go to a different place every time because we want to explore and see new places every time. We do usually only camp in my state, which is Michigan, and that's just due to like drive time, because Michigan in general, depending on where you're going, what state you're trying to enter into, it's several hours of driving, and me and most of my friends work full-time jobs, so it's hard enough getting time off of work to go camping for X amount of days, but also having in you know, extra driving time. So usually we stay in the state of Michigan, and like I said, we go to a different place every time. And I would definitely say what is helpful if you are looking for a camping spot yourself is to go onto Google, look at Google Maps in an area that you are interested in, no matter what state you're in, and then usually once you're in the Google Maps, you can kind of type in like campgrounds in this area where you're looking, and they should pop up. And then the other cool thing is if you actually click on those campgrounds or those camping areas, you can click on them and see if there's any reviews left for it. And I know it sounds silly to kind of read reviews for a campground, like what are they going to tell you? This tree was awesome, oh, clouds are wonderful. But actually they're super helpful, because depending on where you're going, a lot of these campgrounds have really rough roads to get back to them. It'll let you know if it's you know, an area that's really bad for bugs. It'll let you know if it's an area that's too close to a freeway, too noisy. It'll let you know if it's a place that's heavily wooded, or if it's close enough to a lake, or if they feel like, you know, if you're a fisherman or something, it'll let you know if that lake is a really good spot to fish at. It will also tell you what the weather's like that time of year. It'll let you know the best time of year to go. It will let you know all kinds of stuff, like whether the camp itself has a host, if the particular host for the camp is really nice. It'll let you know what their bathroom system's like. It'll actually give you a lot of information. You'd be surprised. So I always try to read the reviews on a particular place when we're deciding on somewhere, just to see what other people have to say about it, and that usually helps me make a really good informed decision. And again, because I like to go as rough as I can camping with my group of friends, I do also look for that. I look for places that are definitely heavily wooded. I like being near a lake, and usually we like being at a place where there's little to no light pollution, because me and most of my friends do really enjoy like watching for stars and meteors and stuff, so I definitely also look for that. Now I'm going to show you some of the things I like to take camping with me. Now these aren't, you know, required to camp. Depending on what kind of camping you're doing, you don't always need these items, but they're helpful. The first item that I got, which is something we're doing new this year, and I wish we would have thought of it sooner, because like I said, we like going places that are so far out from everything else that cell reception is tricky, and usually because there's so many of us going, we're obviously taking more than one car, and it is hard to keep in contact with the other vehicles just in case you need to stop for gas, stop for food, stop for a bathroom break, or anything like that when you can't call each other. Also, I would say don't ever trust Google Maps on your cell phone. A lot of times if you're going somewhere so far off grid, it is not going to keep you on grid, so I will also show an item for that. So anyways, the first item that I have got that I want to show you guys is actually these Cobra walkie-talkies. These came in a set of 3, and they are good up until, I would say it tells you one thing on the packaging, but through testing we've learned not exactly true. I would say if you are in a crowded city, they're probably good up to about half a mile to a mile, and that's kind of depending on what obstructions are in your way, like how far you are and what direction, if you're like a straight line away, if you're like zigzagged into a neighborhood. But I would say these are good for about half a mile to a mile if you're in the city, which is perfect if you are driving together in a group and you just want to be able to keep in contact with the other cars. These are perfect for that. They aren't really an issue for that. And if you are in a open plain area that isn't, you know, city life, that's just an open field, these have a lot more distance on them. And then if you are up in the woods, these are probably good for about a mile as well. They're perfect for what we got them for. We mostly got them for when we were driving there and driving back, so we can keep in contact with the other vehicles once cell reception is no longer useful. And that way, if anything happens, if anybody needs to stop, if there's an emergency at all, we have a way to communicate with each other. I do really recommend these. I believe I paid either $40 or $50 for these, and it did come with a set of 3. These are rechargeable batteries. It came with a charger and an instruction manual and all that, and I will link these down below. These are something that we got new this year, and we've already tested them out. We've driven around and gotten a good feel for them. They also come with the National Weather Service station on here, so you can listen to that just in case, you know, you want to see what the weather's like. It's got the calling option on it. It has several different channels, so if for some reason you're going through these and there's other people outside of your group that are using a certain channel, you can switch to another one. You turn the volume up pretty decently on these two, so I definitely really recommend these. I think these are a great tool, and they're not too expensive, and like I said, they did come with 3 of them for that price, so it's not like you're just getting 1 or 2 walkie-talkies. You're actually getting 3, and they can all communicate with each other, so I definitely recommend these. The next 2 items should seem like no-brainer items, but you may be surprised that a lot of people don't think about this. Again, when you are going someplace where there isn't good cell reception, you're going to want maps. Now, I know this seems very archaic to have an actual paper map, but these come in very useful. This one is obviously for my state, which is Michigan. Hold on, I got it upside down. It has both the Lower Peninsula and the Upper Peninsula on it. Now, this isn't the only map that I have. but you know, this is the easiest one to show you guys on camera. And usually you don't have to pay for maps like these if you don't want to. If you go to any state tourism bureau online or their transportation bureau, you can get these sent to you for free. They usually don't charge for these. I know I got these for free and I got a couple of them. This is actually 2020's map for Michigan, but they're very useful. It's got all the major highways on it and major roads. It even shows you the lakes, campgrounds, tons of other stuff like that. So these are definitely very, very helpful. And when you're in a place where you don't have any cell reception and you lose connection of your map on your phone, this is great to have in a pinch, just so that you know you don't need electricity for this, you don't need a satellite connection, and you should be able to get where you need to go with this. Yes, maps are a little tricky if you've never read one before, but it's really not that hard to figure out. And though these aren't as common anymore for people to use, I definitely think that these are important if you're going somewhere that doesn't have a lot of cell reception, because you might end up needing it, and it's better to be safe than sorry and not have it at all. So I definitely suggest getting a map, and like I said, you don't have to pay for these. You can get them for free, and just check your state's tourism bureau or transportation bureau and you should be able to find this. This I got from our Michigan Department of Transportation. They sent them to me, and you can request more than one if you need to. I requested, I believe, 3 of them, and they didn't charge me anything for them, so that's definitely a good thing to have. The next thing I suggest is kind of in correlation with that. And I don't actually have it near me right now. I don't know exactly. It might be out in my car. I suggest getting a GPS unit. I don't necessarily always trust Google Maps, and this actually happened year before last when we were all traveling to our vacation spot, and there were 3 cars of us and 2 people were using their cell phones to use Google Maps to get to where we were going. And I actually have the Garmin GPS, which I will try to link below if I can find it. It is an older model, so I might not be able to find it, but if I can, I will. But I have a Garmin and I use that, and wouldn't you know it, when we got up there, not only was their Google Maps not sending them to the right location for some reason, but it was also having a hard time staying connected, which you could also use a map, but my Garmin GPS was actually to get us all the way there safely without any confusion, without sending us any of the wrong places. For some reason, Google Maps was trying to send them to the incorrect address. Even though the address was typed in correctly on both of their phones, it's just where it was trying to take them. So ever since then, I've been kind of hesitant, and my Garmin GPS has never let me down. It has always got me where I needed to go safely with no problems. So I definitely suggest getting a GPS. I know they are more expensive than most people want to pay for, but it's definitely a good investment, and I do suggest it because it's definitely come in handy, and it's definitely saved me on more than one occasion where I would have gotten lost or would have been sent to someplace I don't want to be. So I definitely suggest getting a GPS if you can. Now, the next couple items are on the cheaper end, but I feel like they're definitely not necessary, but helpful. And the first one you can actually get at the dollar store. This one is particularly from Valentine's Day at Dollar Tree, but they sell these all year round, and it is LED lights. It's just a string of them. And what is this? This is almost 4 feet long with 10 lights on it, and it's just operated by 2 AA batteries. I have a ton of these, and you might be asking, well, why would you want these? Because of the fact that we go to a campground and it doesn't have electricity, that means you're using flashlights a lot. And yeah, flashlights work great, but say you're in your tent and you just want lighting that kind of fills the whole tent and you're not holding onto a flashlight, these are great, particularly the ones that are on a wire, because you can kind of mold them around how you need them, and if you don't have hooks or anything, it makes it a little easier to hang them because they can kind of be their own hook. But I have a ton of these. I definitely recommend these. These actually light a tent up pretty well, and they definitely help when you're trying to like turn down for the night, or if you're getting up in the middle of the night to get out of your tent. They are also great for around your campsite, like around picnic tables and stuff like that. So I definitely suggest these, and they're obviously very cheap. For $1, these work really, really, really well. They last quite a long time, and I take them every year. The next item is gonna seem a little silly, but when I explain what it's for actually compared to what you're using it for, it might make a little sense. Now, this is from Five Below, and it is one of those pop-up laundry hampers, and I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, why would you take that camping? Well, I don't know about you, but usually hanging a trash bag from a tree or somewhere else where it doesn't get run over or stepped on or have trash fall out all the time is a little tedious. So what I suggest is if you go to Five Below for $5, you can get these pop-up hampers. And they're made of a sturdy nylon. They actually are waterproof from what I've been able to test and had no issue with. And I have two of these, one for bottles and one for trash. And when you pop these open, if you take binder clips and you clip them to the top metal ring of this, it'll hold the bag in place. That way you've got a sturdy pop-up trash can or bottle can so that you can keep track of any bottles that you accumulate if you're drinking beer or soda or pop, depending where you're from, and have that somewhere neat where it's not all over the campsite. Because if you are anything like my group, we like to make sure we are not making a mess. We try to not leave any trash behind, and when I mean not leave any trash behind, we diligently comb through even the dirt and sand around our campground to make sure we're not leaving any trash of any kind. I do have some friends that smoke cigarettes, so they will make sure they didn't accidentally drop any cigarette butts on the ground. We do take ashtrays so that they don't end up on the ground, but just in case any have spilled or anything like that, we diligently make sure we don't leave any trace of us being there, because we're just guests in that spot in nature and we don't want to mess with the ecosystem by trashing it. So this is definitely a very helpful item. Definitely suggest testing them out for that. I think they're very, very helpful, and this is a really cool hack to kind of keep your camping area neat and tidy and not having to worry about trash being everywhere. I have two more items I want to show you guys today, and they have to do with cooking and how to make food and stuff like that. Now the first item, which is super important, is if you are camping, you can cook stuff a number of ways. You can get forks that you can hold over the fire to cook hot dogs, more stuff like that, or you can get a tripod grill, which I will show you, which is just a hanging grill, or you can also get a propane stove. So that's what this is. This is a Coleman propane stove, and basically I'll open it up for you guys. Now my mom just used this because she went camping and she borrowed it, so I don't know how. Oh, it's fairly neat and clean in here. But anyways, you have this, and it's got two little propane burners in there, and the piece that you see in there is actually the hookup for the propane tank. Propane tanks are usually $3 to $4 depending on where you go. They're the small ones. You don't obviously want to put a big propane tank on this. I guess you could, but I would not suggest that. And you've got these two little knobs on the front here to ignite and cook with, and it folds very flat for traveling. And I believe I paid $40 for this as well. I've had it for a few years now. I did have one before this, but for some reason it got stolen out of my car. I don't know who would steal that in particular, because it's not an expensive item or an item that's really sought after. But yeah, so I have had these every time I've been camping. They're very convenient, they're very helpful, especially when you have a bigger group and you're also cooking on the fire. You can also have this. I do also suggest buying a griddle for this, which is a giant flat pan that covers both burners. It's really convenient to cook with. You can also use regular pots and pans with this. It's definitely not too difficult to do that. You can 100% do that. I will link this along with the griddle down below if you guys are interested in this at all, but it's definitely very helpful for cooking because you can boil water on here. You can actually cook on it just like you would a normal stove. And I've definitely made a lot of cool things when we've gone camping just by having this. So that is really cool. And then the last item that I want to show you guys is basically what I was talking about, where you could hang a tripod grill. Let me show you these pieces. It comes in this bag. So basically it's a grill grate, and in here there are 3 poles to make basically a teepee type formation, and chains that hook to this so that it'll hang over a fire and you can grill on top of this. And my favorite thing to make on this is going to seem very silly and not very luxurious, I guess, but it's camping. If you've ever made toast over a fire, I don't know what it is about fire toast, but it is always delicious. I like putting some coconut butter on some toast and putting it on this, and I swear it is the best toast I've ever had in my life, and I have no idea why. We love making fire toast on this. You can also grill meat on this. You can use it for pretty much anything that you use a regular grill for. And in this convenient bag that it came with is all the chains and the poles to make it a tripod for it. I'm not going to show you guys that because I'm pretty sure you can already picture what that looks like, but it is all conveniently in here in one little travel case. And I believe this cost me $14 or $15, something like that. Very inexpensive. And you can actually make one of these yourself if you want. This is actually new to me this year. We had one that we handmade, so it's definitely convenient to take camping. You can definitely make one yourself, and I would say it probably runs about the same amount as this one. These are fairly cheap and inexpensive to buy. If you're going to be cooking over the actual fire, yes, you can use pokers, and I do have those, but it also makes it very easy if you have one of these hanging grills too. You can make coffee using this, you can make food using this. I definitely suggest using like a percolator. If you don't know what a percolator is, I can do another video on other camping gear that I like to take, but it's definitely very convenient to have this to help you cook more items, because like I said, I usually go in larger groups, and it's definitely convenient having a cooking surface to make things other than just hot dogs and marshmallows and anything you can put on a stick basically. So I definitely suggest having one of these, and if you do want to make one yourself, the easiest way to do it and the cheapest way to do it that I learned is you either go to Home Depot or Lowe's, and they sell just the individual grates that go on grills like that, like the part that I showed you. They sell just that piece, I believe, for about $7. So if you want one, you can get it just, it's either 7 or 8. I can't remember the exact price, but it's around that. It's about the same diameter as that, and I want to say that's about 20 inches. And if you get one of those, you can go to the dollar store and you pick up 2 packs of 2-pack carabiner hooks, so that you have 4 in total. And then they also sell bike chains. You buy 3 of those, take off the plastic covering from the chain, so you just have a metal chain, connect a carabiner hook to one end of each of the 3 chains, hook it to the grill grate, and then with the 4th carabiner connect all the other ends of the chain to one, and then just run a rope from tree to tree above the fire and connect the grate. That way you don't have to come up with a way to make the tripod. And I think doing that way, it ends up costing you about $11 to $12 to make this. Otherwise, this one I spent like $15 for. So it's kind of close in price. So it's kind of up to you guys how you want to do it. But I definitely think that this is a really great item to have camping. It's very helpful. So that is my video for today about some of my camping needs and necessities, why I like to go camping, what I like to take with. If you guys would like to see a more comprehensive video of just the items that I take and not all the bullshit and talking, because I know a lot of it might seem long-winded, but if you guys do want a more comprehensive video of what I take camping with me, like what items and tools, I can definitely make one of those and show you guys what kind of items I think are essential for camping. And if you guys enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button. Also comment down below, are you the type of person that goes camping? If you do, where's your favorite place to go camping? I would love to hear about your wonderful camping stories. And if you've never gone camping, I definitely recommend it. It is something that is very fun. It's definitely great if you want to kind of spend time with yourself and your thoughts and just get away from everything and all the stress of everyday life. And there are beautiful places out there that are great to explore no matter where you live. So I definitely suggest going camping at least once in your life. You may really enjoy it. So definitely give it a try. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.